أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
So the first condition of wudu, and wudu is a condition of salah. So you want the first condition of wudu. The first condition of wudu. Very good. So the first condition of wudu, okay, is intention. A person has to have the proper intention. He has to have the intention that he's doing it for the sake of Allah. And wudu, in and of itself, is an act of worship. Wudu is an act of worship. Yeah, just like salah is an act of worship, okay, wudu also is an act of worship. So the first condition of wudu is that you have to have the right intention. It has to be purely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, and that's very, very important. So the first condition is, okay, that the person does it purely for the sake of Allah, and his intention is that he's doing it for Allah's sake. And the second condition is, who can tell me? Who can tell me another thing that might be a condition for wudu? What else do you need in order to do wudu properly? Okay, that's not a condition. That's not a condition. It's a good answer, but it's not a condition. What do you need even before you do wudu? What do you have to have to do wudu? Who can tell me? Water. So you have to have water, okay? And when it comes to water, say for example, somebody came, okay, and he came to the masjid and he had a bottle of orange juice, okay, and he opened the bottle of orange juice, a big bottle, 2 liters, and he decided to do wudu with this orange juice. And you go over to him and you say, what are you doing? And he says, I'm doing wudu. What do you mean I'm doing wudu? I'm preparing for salah. Is this allowed? It's not allowed. Why isn't it allowed? Who can tell me, why isn't it allowed? What if you said to this person, brother, this isn't allowed? You can't do wudu with orange juice. And he says, why not? Why isn't it allowed? Why can't I do wudu with orange juice? What's wrong with this?
It's not pure.
It's not pure and it's not purifying. Okay? And is it water? No. So it's not water. So how can you tell that something is water? How can you tell? Very simple. Huh?
You can see through it.
Okay, so by looking at it. So by looking at its color. Yeah? So by looking at something's color, you can tell whether it's water or not, can't you? So if something is clear, then you can tell and you know that that thing is water. But is that all the time? Say if you go into a laboratory and there's a clear liquid in a bottle and it's a science lab. Huh? Maybe it's not water. Maybe it's something else. How else can you tell that something is water? By the smell. Yeah? So you might smell that thing in the science lab and it might smell very strong, it might smell of a chemical. So you know that that's not water. Even though it's clear, it's not water. So you can't do wudu with that because it's not water. It might be some type of chemical. So by looking at it, by its color, yeah, and also by its smell, and there's one more thing. Taste. Very good. So if those 3 things are different, any of those things have changed, then you can't do wudu with it. Okay? So like for example, orange juice, okay, it's orange and it tastes like orange juice and it smells different. So you can't do wudu with it. Okay? You might have a clear substance, okay? You can see through this liquid, looks like water, but it might taste different. Yeah? Who can give me an example of something that looks like water but might not be water? Who can give me an example? Something that looks like water but it isn't water. It's clear. Okay, you can see through it and it looks like water, but it's not actually water. Who can give me an example? Anything? Sparkling water or lemonade. You get clear lemonade. Yeah. So these types of things, yeah, you can't do wudu with them. Or if the smell changes. Okay. So if the smell changes, then you can't do wudu with it. So you have to make sure that the water that you're using, okay, is actually water. And when it comes to water, there's three different categories. There's three different categories. Because even in, like, when you buy orange juice or you buy some other type of juice, there's some water in there, isn't there? There's some water in there. So when it comes to water, there's different types. And the type that you can do wudu with, okay, is called purifying water. Tahur in Arabic. So it's purifying water because it purifies your body. So when you have a bath, when you have a shower, when you do wudu, it actually purifies your body. Yeah, and it cleans. So purifying water is the only type of water that you can do wudu with. It's the only type of water that you can do wudu with. And the other type of water is called pure water. So it's not purifying, but it's pure. What does that mean? Okay, excellent, very good. So it's water, but it's been mixed with something else. So for example, okay, your mum when she's cooking food, yeah, she might put water, she might be cooking chicken or something, and she puts water in there. Yeah, it's still pure, but can you do wudu with it? Why can't you do wudu with it? Sorry? Okay, yeah, and also because it's changed, hasn't it? It's not water anymore, it's become like, the taste has changed, and the smell has changed, and the way it looks has changed. Okay, so that type of water, okay, is different. It's called pure water. So you can still use it, but you can't use it for wudu. You can use it for cooking, you can use it for cleaning other things, but you can't use it, okay, to clean yourself, okay, or to clean other things which are impure. Okay, so for example, like orange juice, like tea, these things, they're pure, but you can't use them for wudu. You can't use them for wudu. Okay? Now, the third type, who can tell me the third type? So you have pure water, you have purifying water, and who can tell me another type of water? Not reused, because pure water can be used, can't it? Okay, very good. Impure water. Pure water which isn't pure. Water which isn't pure. So impure water. Now you can give me an example of water which isn't pure. What makes water, okay, not pure? So we know water is pure originally, isn't it? Water is something which is pure. But how does water become impure? What are those things that if you added it to water, okay, it wouldn't be pure anymore? And you wouldn't be able to do wudu with those things. Okay, now you need to be more specific. Okay, anything from the things which makes water impure is anything which comes out of the private parts. Okay, if it touches that water, okay, then you can't do wudu in that water. Okay, you can't do wudu with that water. And when it comes to water, okay, what about if you're on a boat or on a ship in the middle of the ocean? Can you do wudu with that water in the ocean? Huh? Who says no? Put your hands up if you say no. Okay. Put your hands up if you say yes. Okay. Why can't you do wudu with that water?
Because it's got salt added in it.
Okay, so it's salty water. So it's changed the taste. Okay.
Animals might have been.
Okay. So who said you can? Okay. Why can you?
Because someone asked the Prophet if they can use them.
Okay, very good. So when it comes to the ocean or sea water or lake water or waters in rivers, you can do wudu with that. Because the Prophet ﷺ was asked once, okay, about wudu and making wudu from the ocean, from the sea, from sea water. And the Prophet ﷺ said, هُوَ الطَّهُورُ مَاؤُهُ الْحِلُّ مَيْتَتُهُ, that its water is pure, okay, and its dead is halal for you to eat. Okay, so when it comes to ocean water, when it comes to water from rivers, from lakes, from springs, all these are allowed for you to do wudu in. Okay, they're allowed for you to do wudu in. Do you have a question?
What if the water's contaminated, like the lake water or pond water, like you've got dead animals or...
If it's running water, then you can do wudu in it. If it's running water, yeah, then you can do wudu in it, as long as it's running water. And if it's still water, then it has to be a certain amount for you to do wudu in it. It has to be a certain amount. How much is that? Okay, the scholars, they say it has to be, it's something in Arabic, they call it qullatayn, 2 qullas. What's a qulla? Okay, qullatayn in English, it's about 200 to 300 liters. Okay, so you have like a liter of milk at home, don't you? So imagine 200 or 300 liters. That's how much it has to be, okay, for you to be able to do wudu in it, if it's not flowing. If the water isn't flowing, okay, and it's in one place, you have to have at least 200 or 300 liters in order for you to do wudu in that. Okay, so anything that comes out of the private parts, okay, if that contaminates the water, okay, and it's added into the water, then you can't do wudu with that. So now we're talking about less than the amount, okay, of 300 liters. If it's more, if it's 300 liters or more, okay, 200 to 300 liters, then anything which goes in it, okay, the water is so much, okay, that it gets rid of that impurity. But if it's less than that, then you have to look, and you have to see if the taste changes or if the smell changes, yeah, or if it looks different. Okay, so if it's less than that, if something's added to it, then you can't do wudu in it. If it's less than that amount, 200 to 300 liters. So if it's less than that and you have anything which comes out of the private parts, if that goes into that water which is less than 200 to 300 liters, then you can't do wudu with that. Okay, so good. So anything which comes out of the private parts, so that thing, whatever comes out of the private parts, okay, that makes that water impure. Yeah. Okay, anything else? What else makes water impure? Something else which makes water impure.
Some animals.
Sorry? Okay, certain types of animals. So say for example, there's a pond, yeah, and that pond isn't 200 to 300 liters or more, and a dog comes and licks from that pond and drinks from that pond. You're not allowed to drink, you're not allowed to do wudu from it. You're not allowed to do wudu from it. Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ talked about a dog when it licks something, when it licks a vessel or it licks a plate, okay, then you have to wash it in a different way to when you wash something else, because there's certain things, okay, and there's certain bacteria which is so strong, okay, in the saliva of the dog that you have to wash that vessel differently. You have to wash that plate differently if the dog licks it. And the Prophet ﷺ said that if this happens and the dog licks any of your plates, then you should wash it 7 times, one of those times with dust or with dirt, with soil from outside. So you clean it with soil and then you wash it 6 times with water and once with dirt from outside, because only that can get rid of the saliva of the dog. Okay, good. So from the conditions of wudu is, what was the first one? Who remembers the first one? What was the first one? The first condition of wudu. First condition. Intention. Good. First condition was intention. Second condition? Water. Okay. And there's different types of water. There's 3 different types of water. Who remembers what the first type was?
Smell.
No, the different types of water. Different types of water.
Purification water.
Purifying water. Yeah. Water which purifies. That's one type of water. We can give me another type of water. Pure water. Can you give me an example of pure water? Okay. Water which is in, for example, soup. Yeah. Or for example, orange juice. Or tea. Or Coca-Cola. Can I do wudu with Coca-Cola? Why? Okay, very good. Yeah, so it's changed. It's not water anymore. It's not considered to be water anymore. Yeah, it's one of the 3 things that make a liquid has changed. So the taste has changed, or the color has changed, or the taste, the color. What was the third thing? The smell. Yeah, so those 3 things have changed. So that's the second type of water. So you have purifying water, then you have pure water. What was the third type? Impure water. Impure water. So for example, if something comes out of the private parts and it goes into that water, then you can't do wudu with that water. Yeah, or if a dog licks from that water. If it's a pond and the dog licks, drinks from that water, then you can't do wudu in that water. Very good. So that's the second condition, okay, that a person, when he does wudu, the water has to be purifying water. The water has to be purifying water. Good. Okay. Also, when it comes to conditions of wudu, okay, a person can't be doing anything which invalidates his wudu. So for example, okay, if a person is doing wudu and he breaks his wudu, while he's doing wudu, then he has to repeat the wudu again. So say for example you're doing wudu, okay, and you break your wudu, you pass wind, while you're doing wudu, then you have to do the wudu from the beginning again. Yeah? So all those things which break the wudu, they have to be cut off. Okay, and then you perform your wudu. Also, when it comes to the conditions of wudu, those things, okay, which prevent water from reaching the skin. So say for example, there's something on your skin and you're doing wudu, but that water isn't reaching the skin, okay, then your wudu isn't complete. You have to make sure that there's nothing on your skin, okay, that's preventing the water from reaching the skin. Who can give me an example of something like this? So very good. Plaster or a bandage. Yeah, a plaster or a bandage. But for example, if a person isn't able to take it off, in that case, if he's sick, for example, and it's dangerous for him to take it off, then he just wipes over it, or he does whatever he can to put water over it. Who can give me another example of something that won't let water go through? Okay, good. A watch. What else?
Nail varnish.
Excellent. Nail varnish. So you can't have nail varnish, yeah, because it doesn't penetrate. It doesn't go onto the actual hand itself. Yeah, so you can't have nail varnish. What about something else? Something similar to nail varnish? Okay, makeup. Yeah, it depends. Some type of makeup, the water, it'll dissolve the makeup, won't it? But with nail varnish, when you put water on it, it's waterproof, isn't it? So when you put nail varnish on and you put water on top, it doesn't dissolve the varnish, does it? So the varnish doesn't go anywhere. So that means makeup, okay, when you put water on it, it goes away. So there's nothing wrong with that. But nail varnish, because it doesn't go away, you have to get rid of it yourself. And then you do wudu. But something else, similar to nail varnish.
Paint.
Paint, yeah, very good. Paint. You know, if you got paint on your hands and it's not coming off and you put water on it, the water doesn't stay on that. Yeah, it rolls off. It doesn't go onto the skin. Because the paint is, you know, it's thick, it's a solid. So you need to make sure there's no paint on your hands. Yeah, or for example, henna or mehndi. Yeah, if you've got mehndi on, when you first put it on, it's solid, isn't it? It's solid. If you've ever seen your sisters or your mums put it on, it's a solid first. Okay, so you can't do wudu while it's still solid. Once they take the mehndi off, the strong part off, and it's just like the coloring left, that's fine. But at the beginning, okay, when it's solid, yeah, then you can't do wudu on that because it's covering the skin. Same with paint. Yeah, similar thing with paint and also with nail varnish. Also when it comes to some types of waterproof things, like for example Vaseline. Yeah, so if you have a lot of Vaseline on your hand, Vaseline is waterproof and they use it for a lot of things. So if you have a lot of Vaseline on your hand, okay, you have to make sure when you do wudu that it comes off, all of it comes off before you do wudu. Because Vaseline does go away. Yeah, Vaseline does go away. So you need to make sure you wipe off all the Vaseline and then you do wudu. Okay, ink doesn't stop the water from going onto the skin, yeah, because it's not a solid, is it? Yeah, it's not a solid. Okay, good. So you have to prevent anything, make sure there's nothing on your body, nothing on your skin that's going to stop the water, from entering, going onto the skin itself. Very good. Okay, also, you need to make sure that your whole body and your clothes don't have any impurities on them. They don't have nothing which is impure. So if your clothes have something, for example, when you go to the bathroom, yeah, and you use the bathroom, you need to make sure that your clothes don't have anything impure on them after you use the bathroom. Okay, so no urine or anything that comes out of the private parts can't go onto the body. And if they do go onto the body, then you need to make sure that you wash it off. Okay, and if you're not sure exactly where the, where the urine, for example, went, and you're not sure because you can't see it anymore, you don't know where exactly it went, then you wash or you clean with water, around that place where you think the urine might have got to. So you're sure. Until you're sure that anything that was on your clothes which was impure isn't on there anymore. Okay, when it comes to wudu itself, we're going to talk about two different categories of wudu. The first thing when it comes to wudu are those things which are pillars of wudu, or things which are wajib in wudu. Who can tell me what wajib is? When we say wajib, something which is wajib, you have to do it. Okay, very good. So things you have to do in wudu. If you don't do those things, okay, then it's not wudu anymore. It's not considered to be wudu. Those things you have to do, and if you don't do them, okay, the wudu isn't valid anymore, and it's not considered to be wudu. Yeah. So the first thing that a person has to do when it comes to wudu, okay, there's 6 things altogether. 6 things that a person has to do, okay, or 6 pillars of wudu. The first thing is washing the face. Washing the face, okay, and from the face is the mouth and the nose. So you rinse your mouth, you wash your mouth and you wash your nose and you wash your face, and that's from the wudu. Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ used to wash his face, and the face is from here, from the top of your head, top of your forehead, okay, and the sides, okay, where your ear starts, that's where your face finishes. Yeah, so you have to make sure you wash from the top of your forehead, okay, to the sides, all the way to your chin, the bottom of your chin. Okay, and that's your face. So you have to make sure when you do wudu, you cover all of your face and you wash the whole of the face. Yeah, and Allah says in the Quran, okay, about wudu, فَغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. He says when you stand for salah and when you perform salah, then wash your face. Okay, so you have to make sure the whole face is washed. And once a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he had missed out a part of his skin, okay, from wudu. There was a small part of his skin, tiny part, okay, that hadn't been, there was no water on it. And the Prophet ﷺ told him to go back and perform wudu again because he hadn't performed wudu. Even though he had done everything, he had washed his face and washed his arms and wiped his head and washed his feet, but he never covered a small part of his arm when he was doing wudu. And because of that, the Prophet ﷺ told him to go back and do wudu again. So that shows you have to make sure you cover every single part of your skin. Yeah, whatever you're washing, you make sure that all of it is covered with water and you don't leave anything out. Okay, so the second pillar of wudu, those things you have to do, those things that have to be done, who can tell me? After you've rinsed your mouth and your nose and you washed your face, the next thing that you have to do, okay, wash your arms. And where do you wash your arms up to? Your elbows, very good. So you wash your arms up to your elbows. Because Allah says, Allah mentions in the Quran about wudu. And He says, فَغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ, wash your faces, وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, and wash your arms up to the elbows. So you make sure when you wash your arms, okay, you wash all the way up to your elbows. Okay, make sure you wash all the way up to your elbows. Okay, after this, the third thing is wiping the head. Wiping the head. So you have to wipe the head. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to wipe the head, he would start from the front, okay, and he would go all the way to the back. Yeah, so he would wipe, and he would start from the front, he would go all the way to the back, and then he'd use his index fingers. He'd use his index fingers to clean the ears, clean the insides of the ears, and he would use his thumbs to clean the outer part of the ear. Yeah, the part that's just inside here. Okay, not inside, but above the ear. Okay, so you wipe your head, okay, and you clean your ears at the same time. Yeah, and this is part of the wudu. So what was the first thing we mentioned? The first pillar? Huh? Sorry? Okay, and the face, yeah? So you wash the face, and the nose and the mouth are part of the face. Yeah. What was the second thing? What was the second thing? The second pillar that we mentioned, second pillar of wudu. Yeah, washing your arms. So you wash the arms up to your shoulders. Yeah, wash your arms up to your shoulders. Huh? Up to your elbows. Wash your arms up to your elbows. Not up to your shoulders. Wash your arms up to your elbows. Okay? And then after that, wiping your head. And where do you start from? You start from here. Okay, so you start from here. Start from here and you wipe all the way to the back and then you clean your ears. Yeah. So that's part of the wudu. So there's three pillars there. Three pillars of wudu, or three things which are wajib in wudu. You have to do them. If you don't do them, okay, then that wudu isn't valid. Also, okay, the fourth thing is washing the feet. Washing the feet. You have to make sure you wash your feet up to, as Allah says in the Quran, ilal ka'bayn, up to the ankles. So when you wash your feet, you make sure you wash your feet including the ankles. And also you make sure you wash all of the foot and also the heel. The Prophet ﷺ, he was walking around watching the people do wudu, and he said to them, وَيْلُ لِلْأَعْقَابِ مِنَ النَّارِ. Woe to those, or beware of having your heels in the hellfire. What did he mean? What he meant was that a person, when he does wudu, he has to make sure that his heels are also washed. Sometimes we might wash out the top of our feet, yeah, and the bottom of our feet, but we might not wash the heels properly. And the Prophet ﷺ warned us about this. And he made us make sure that when we wash our feet, we wash the heels as well. Very important that you wash every single part of the foot. Yeah? And you wash your feet, including the heels, up to your ankles. Up to your ankles. Yeah? So that's the fourth pillar, and the fourth thing which is wajib, you have to do it for wudu. If you don't do it, your salah isn't valid. It's something which isn't valid. Okay? Also, the fifth thing, okay, say for example I came and I decided to do wudu, and I started and I washed my arms first, and then I washed my feet, then I wiped my hair, and then I'd washed my nose and mouth and face. Is that wudu? Why isn't it wudu? Is it wudu? I washed all the parts of the body that I need to wash. Why isn't it wudu? Okay, yeah? Correct order. Yeah, it has to be in the correct order. That's very important. Yeah, so the wudu has to be in the correct order. So you have to make sure you start first of all, okay, with rinsing the mouth and the nose and then the face, all of the face, and then your arms, and then you're wiping your head, and then your feet. You have to make sure you do it in that order. If you don't do it in that order, it's not considered to be wudu anymore, because the Prophet said he used to do it in that order. Yeah? And when it comes to acts of worship, we make sure we follow the Prophet ﷺ. So it has to be done in the right order. It has to be done in the right order. So those are the basic things that you have to do in wudu. So now we're going to come to making sure our wudu is perfect. Making sure our wudu is the best possible wudu. Yeah? And making sure that we do those things which the Prophet ﷺ used to do. So these are now the sunnah of wudu. Those things which the Prophet ﷺ used to do, okay, and to make sure that his wudu was perfect and it was the best possible thing. Yeah, and he did it the best possible way. Okay, and these are called the sunnah of wudu. Those things, if you do them, you're rewarded for them. Yeah, so we're going to now talk about the sunnah of wudu. And the first thing, okay, even before you do wudu, okay, and even before you say Bismillah, there's something else that the Prophet ﷺ used to do before making wudu. He used to use something. Miswak. He used to use the miswak. So using the miswak is from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. He used to do the miswak all the time. And he said to his companions, he said, if I wasn't afraid that it would be difficult for my ummah and for my people, I would have ordered them to use the miswak all the time. And I would have ordered them to use the miswak, okay, before every single salah. Yeah, and he ordered people, he said, I would have ordered them to always use the miswak because of its importance. And so the miswak is something which if a person uses, it doesn't just clean the teeth, okay, it cleans a person's tongue, it cleans a person's mouth, all of it. Yeah. So it's very important that a person uses the miswak whenever he can, and it's part of the sunan of salah, part of the sunan of wudu. Yeah, and it's an emphasized sunnah. A person should, it's highly recommended for a person to do the miswak. What about from the other sunan of wudu? What are the things, for example, haven't we mentioned? Someone mentioned it before. Something you do before the wudu, before you start the wudu. You mentioned it before. Saying Bismillah. Saying Bismillah before you start the wudu. Yeah, Prophet ﷺ used to say Bismillah before he started the wudu. So before you start the wudu, you say Bismillah. And then you start your wudu. Before you start anything you do, should always say Bismillah before you start. Before entering your home, before leaving your home, yeah, before eating. Anything you do should always say Bismillah. Yeah, because then whatever you do, there's going to be barakah in that thing. Yeah, there's going to be barakah in whatever you do. And you want barakah in everything that you do. Okay, so you should always say Bismillah before you start anything. So when it comes to wudu, yeah, you say Bismillah before you start. Before you start your wudu, you say Bismillah. What else can be part of the sunnah of wudu? Who can tell me? Something we haven't mentioned yet. Something we haven't mentioned yet when it comes to wudu. Huh? Think about when you do wudu.
Is it doing things 3 times?
Excellent. Very good. Doing things 3 times. The Prophet ﷺ, used to wash every single part of his body 3 times. Yeah. So he used to wash his arms 3 times. Yeah, and his face 3 times. Yeah. So you make sure that whenever you wash the parts of the body, you do it 3 times, because the Prophet ﷺ used to do them 3 times. Say for example, there's not a lot of water and you're worried, then you can do it once. But the best and the better thing is to do it 3 times. Yeah, and the Prophet ﷺ used to do it 3 times. There's something else as well. Something else. Sorry? Okay, excellent, very good. Yeah, washing your hands. And washing your hands, is something which Prophet ﷺ used to do. But if a person wakes up from sleep, then he has to do the washing of the hands. He has to wash his hands before he starts the wudu. Okay? It's a sunnah if, for example, he's awake now and he's going to go for maghrib, or it's going to be asr time, and he's going to do wudu, okay? Then it's a sunnah, okay? The Prophet ﷺ used to wash his hands. When he wakes up from sleep, then he has to wash his hands. When he wakes up from sleep, he has to wash his hands. Why is there a difference? Why is it wajib? Why does he have to wash his hands when he wakes up? And he doesn't, it's not something that, is wajib otherwise. Because you don't know where your hands have been, because you've been asleep. Yeah, and you don't know where your hands have been. The Prophet ﷺ said that when you do wudu, yeah, and when you're asleep, he said, when you wake up, make sure you wash your hands, because you don't know where your hands have been while you've been asleep, because you're not paying attention. Some people, they sleepwalk when they're sleeping, and they don't know what's happening. Doesn't that happen? So what about when it comes to your own body? You don't even know what's happening with your own body. So it's very important that when you wake up, yeah, you wash your hands. Very good. Something else as well. There's something else when it comes to the sunnahs of wudu. Those things which you have to do. Or it's the sunnah of wudu is to make your salah, to make your wudu perfect. Excellent. So you start with the right, not with your left. You start with your right. So when it comes to washing your arms, when it comes to washing your feet, you make sure you start with the right side first. Yeah, and the Prophet ﷺ used to say al-aymanu fal-ayman. He used to say start with the right, and then whatever comes after the right. So in everything that we do, we should always start with our right. So whenever we're giving something to somebody, we should always use our right hand. Yeah, whenever we're washing our arms or our feet in wudu, we should always start with the right side. Okay, whenever we're giving some food to somebody, maybe somebody comes around our house, yeah, and there's people there, you should always start with your right and give it first to your right, and then go around like that. Okay, or for example, if you're giving salam, say there's a group of people, okay, and you go to give salam to them, you start with the person on your right first. You don't start with the person on the left, you start with the right. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ used to always start with the right. Yeah. So these are the sunan of wudu. Okay. Who can mention these now? Who can repeat them for me? As many as they can. You don't have to mention all of them. Just as many as they can. So far. Start from the beginning.
Your hands and your hands.
Okay. Yeah. Washing your hands if you haven't been asleep. If you've been asleep, then you have to wash your hands. Okay. That's one. Start from right from the beginning. Even before wudu, and then work your way. I want one person to mention all of them. Carry on.
Siwak.
Okay, siwak, yeah.
And your right.
Okay, before that.
Your hands.
Yeah, your hands. Siwak. No, before your hands. Even before your hands is something. Yeah, saying Bismillah. Saying Bismillah. So you use miswak, and then even before you start your wudu, you say Bismillah.
Your right hand. And
Yeah, starting with your right. And washing, you mentioned washing your hands, yeah, so that's 4. Have you mentioned anything else? Have you missed anything out?
Doing each act 3 times.
Sorry? Yeah, very good. Doing each act 3 times. Yeah. So all these are parts of the sunnah of wudu. Yeah, these are all parts of the sunnah of wudu to make sure your wudu is perfect. To make sure, okay, that you do your wudu just like the Prophet ﷺ used to do it. So you're doing it exactly how the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used to do wudu. Also from the sunnah of wudu, okay, think of now towards the end, once you finish wudu.
Washing between your toes.
Okay, washing between your toes, very good, and between your fingers, making sure that water reaches all parts of the skin. Okay. Also, right at the end, once you finish your wudu. Okay, what's the dua? You know the dua? After wudu, okay, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever says, after he's performed ablution, after he's made wudu, he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Okay, all 8 gates of paradise will be opened for him. And if he dies at that moment, he'll be able to enter from any gate he wishes. So it's very important that a person makes this dua after he finishes his wudu. Yeah, after he finishes this wudu. Very good. Okay, so these are the sunan of wudu. Those things which, make his wudu perfect. Yeah, and he makes his wudu just like how the Prophet ﷺ used to do his wudu. And we want to make sure that all our deeds are, done just like the Prophet ﷺ used to do them. Okay, what about when it comes to why we do wudu? Why do we need to do wudu? What are those things that we have to do wudu for? What are those things that we have to do wudu for? Huh? No, the act of wudu, okay, what do we need to do wudu for? What do we need to do wudu for?
To read Quran.
Okay, very good. To read Quran. So if I want to read Quran now, do I have to have wudu?
Yeah.
If I just want to read Quran from my memory?
To touch the Quran.
Touch the Quran. Touch the Quran. So when it comes to touching the Mus'haf, touching the Quran, you have to have wudu. Because Allah says in the Quran, لا يمسه إلا المطهرين, that no one touches it except those who are pure. So the Quran can only be touched by those who have done wudu. You can't touch the Quran without doing wudu. What else do we need wudu for? Most obvious thing. Huh? To pray salah. So for these 2 things, you have to have wudu for. Also, it's good to have wudu all the time. It's good to always be in a state of wudu. The Prophet ﷺ would always be in a state of wudu. And when a person makes dua, okay, it's good for him to be in a state of wudu. There's more chance of a person's dua being answered if he's in a state of wudu, if he's already done wudu. And a person can make dua at any time, can't he? So he can make dua at night, he can make dua in the morning. So if you're always in a state of wudu and you make dua, your dua has more chance of being accepted. So every time you use the bathroom, always do wudu afterwards. It's always good to be in a state of wudu all the time. It's something good, something recommended. Good, so when it comes to those things that you need wudu for, touching the Quran and also the salah, the prayer. So you can't pray except with wudu. Okay. What about those things which to do them you don't have to do wudu, but it's better to do wudu? I mentioned one of them already. What was the one thing I said? It's better to do wudu. Dua, very good. What else is it recommended to do wudu for before you do that thing? You don't have to. It's not like salah. You have to do wudu before you perform salah. These are those things which is better to do wudu for. It's a sunnah. Yeah, it's something which is better for a person to do those things. Okay, when he wants to do them, that he does wudu before them. So dua is one of them. What about, for example, when it comes to traveling to Mecca? Something to do with going to Mecca. You're close, something more specific. Tawaf. When you're doing tawaf, okay, it's sunnah, it's better for a person, okay, to do wudu. What else? What other things? When you're remembering Allah Azza wa Jal, when you're doing your adhkar, and a person should be doing his adhkar all the time, shouldn't he? Yeah, so it's good for a person, okay, before he remembers Allah, yeah, maybe for example, he's going to read the Quran, he's not going to touch the Quran, but he's going to read the Quran, it's better for him to be in a state of wudu. Okay, also, when it comes to a person, when it comes to him doing wudu before he goes to sleep. Before he goes to sleep, okay, he should be in a state of wudu. Prophet ﷺ would always do wudu before he went to sleep. Before he went to sleep, he would always do wudu. Okay, now we're going to talk about those things, okay, which break the wudu. Those things which break the wudu. Those things, if those things happen, okay, then you have to repeat your wudu. You can't pray, okay, until you do wudu again. So what are those things which break the wudu? Very good. So if you go to the bathroom, okay, or more specifically anything that comes out of the private parts. Anything that comes out of the private parts, okay, invalidates your wudu. Yeah? And you're not allowed to perform salah until after you've done wudu again. Once you've done wudu again, then you can pray. So if you go to the bathroom, yeah, then your wudu is invalid. You have to repeat your wudu again. You have to do your wudu again. Good. Okay, when blood's flowing, that's another one. Flowing blood. Yeah. What else? Something else. Very obvious one. We do it every single day. Huh? No. Not if you swear. Swearing isn't something which is good. The Prophet ﷺ never used to swear, but it doesn't break your wudu. Doesn't break your wudu. Sleep. Yeah. If you go to sleep, you can't wake up and just start praying without doing wudu. Yeah, you have to have wudu. So sleep invalidates the wudu. When you go to sleep, when you wake up again, you have to perform wudu again. You have to perform wudu again. What else? Sorry? Okay, when you pass wind. When you pass wind, you have to perform wudu again. Yeah, you have to perform wudu again. There's one more thing. Very good. When you eat camel meat. Okay, so if you go to a restaurant and you have a camel burger, okay, then you have to do wudu after it. You have to do wudu after it. Prophet ﷺ said that when whoever eats camel meat, then he should perform wudu again. Okay, so those are the things which invalidate the wudu. If you do those things, okay, then you have to repeat the wudu and you have to do wudu again. Okay. Okay, so those are the things which break the wudu. Is there any questions about what we've covered when it comes to wudu, performing wudu?
What's the difference between washing and wiping?
Washing and wiping. You mean when you wipe? Yeah. So when you wash your arms, you're actually, washing with water. When you wipe, okay. Say for example, once you washed your arms, yeah, you wet your hands again, and then with that water, okay, you wipe your head. So you don't actually take water, you don't take water and wash the hair on your head. So you just wipe, and you don't rinse the water inside, like you're having a shower. You don't do that. So you just wipe once over the head, and that's the difference. So you don't wash it, you just wipe over the hair. Okay.
Why do we have to before wudu after we cover the feet?
Prophet ﷺ told us. He told us. Camel meat. Prophet ﷺ said that when we eat camel meat, then you should repeat your wudu and do wudu again. Because it's a type of, they say that camel meat is like very hot. You have very hot types of food and you have other types of food, cool types of food. It says very, very hot, and the Prophet ﷺ told us that when you do wudu, when you eat camel meat, then you should do wudu again. Vomit doesn't invalidate the wudu. No, it doesn't invalidate the wudu. No. Any more questions about wudu?
When you wipe your head and you go front to back and back to front.
You just do it once. You just do it once. Okay. Do it once and then you clean your ears. What about the neck? Do you wipe your neck? No, you don't wipe your neck. Prophet ﷺ never used to wipe his neck. So you wipe your head and you clean your ears. Good. Anything else? Anything else?
And when you say Bismillah and why, can you say it in your head?
Yeah, you can say it in your head. You can say it in your head. So when you say Bismillah at the beginning, before you start your wudu, you can say it in your head. It's better to say it on your tongue. It's better to have your tongue moving when you say it. But if you don't, there's nothing wrong with that. It's still valid. You can still do that. But it's better to say it on your tongue. But if you say it in your head, that's fine. Even the dua at the end.
If you forget it, can you say it?
If you forget it, then you say it whenever you remember. Okay.
What about things like using less water and not wetting your clothes? Is that a sunnah or
What's that?
using less water and not putting water on your clothes?
You're using less water. Prophet ﷺ, when it came to wasting water, he never used to like it. And generally when it comes to wasting things, a person shouldn't waste the water or anything else. So you should make sure that he doesn't waste the water when he performs wudu. That's very good. Jazakallah khair. You make sure you don't waste the water, while you're doing wudu. So for example, say if you're washing your face and the water is running, and you may be looking in the mirror and the water is running and you're wasting all that water. You need to make sure you don't waste so much water because haram is not allowed. Carry on. It's what that question.
What if say you have dirty clothes, if you've got a bit of urine on your boxes or something, are you allowed to remove?
You need to just wash that part of your clothes with water. So for example, if you're not sure where the urine was, then you wash whatever you're sure of. That if you do wash that part, then you know that's going to be clean then. Okay. Any more questions about wudu? Any questions from the sisters about wudu? Okay. You had a question?
If you're in dry blood, can you still perform salah?
That's fine. That's fine. Any more questions about wudu?
And if you're doing wudu and you stop and get something, and can you still carry on?
That's a good question. Say for example, I'm doing wudu, and the phone rings. And I wash my arms. That can happen. I wash my arms and I haven't finished my wudu. So I go and I answer the phone. I'm talking, maybe it's my friend. And then I talk to him for 5 minutes and then I put the phone down and I go back. What do I do? Do I just start with the head or do I start from the beginning again? Huh? Beginning. If this happens and you stop your wudu for any reason, if the water's dried, by the time you come back, then you have to repeat the wudu. If you've just gone for a few seconds, or for a time where the water hasn't dried yet, then you can come back and carry on with your wudu from where you left off. Okay, good question. Well done. Any more questions about wudu? Don't forget, wudu is very important, because without wudu, your salah isn't valid. It's a condition. You have to have wudu before the salah. Very important. You have to have wudu. Huh?
Well, in that ayah, and some people say it's referred to the angels.
Some people say, yeah. Yeah, some of the scholars say it's referred to the angels. Yeah, good, mashallah. Okay, say for example, you're not sure if you broke your wudu or not. And it's time for salah. And you need to perform salah. But you're not sure if you have wudu or not. What should you do? Do it again just in case. Huh? Do it again just in case. If you're more sure, okay, that you didn't break your wudu, then you don't do the wudu again. Okay? But if you're more sure that most likely you broke your wudu, then you repeat the wudu. Yeah? And you repeat the wudu and you do the wudu again. Okay. What happens if there's no water? What happens if you're in the middle of the desert and there's no water? To do wudu. So you put sand in your mouth and you put water over your head and you wipe your head and put sand on your arms. You're close, but you do tayammum. You do tayammum. It's called tayammum. So if there's no water, then a person performs tayammum instead. Okay. And when it comes to tayammum, it's different to wudu. When it comes to tayammum, it's different to wudu. So when it comes to tayammum, you don't do it like wudu. You don't put sand in your mouth or put it over your face or put sand on your arms. It's not like that. Because tayammum, okay, is to show, okay, that you don't have no water. Okay, so it doesn't actually purify, but it's just to symbolize wudu. It's to symbolize wudu. So when you do tayammum, how do you do tayammum? You hit the ground with your hands, yeah, one hit, and then you wipe your face and you wipe your arms, and that's it. That's it if you don't have no water. Okay, there's no purifying water to do wudu with, then you do tayammum. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so you just hit the ground, yeah, wipe your face once, and then wipe your arms, that's it. Wipe your hands, that's it. That's all you have to do. Yeah. Okay, so inshallah next week we'll carry on. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم